Hey folks, today I thought I'd share with you the three key elements to performance. So if you're looking to perform better, if you're looking to take your performance to a completely different level, to reach a new high that you've never experienced before, this is the episode that you want to tune into. And it's absolutely possible because it's a very systematic approach. And there's three main things that you need to focus on. Those three main things are this. The first one is strategy, the second one is state, and the third one is your systems. And everything to do with performance falls into one of these three categories. And if you learn how to optimize each one of these categories, then you're slowly going to be able to improve your performance. And sometimes you can actually do that very fast as well. It's not unheard of for us to be able to help professionals double their productivity within a couple of months. It's very easy to do if you actually follow this system. But the first thing I want you to get is I want you to be able to categorize every single thing you do into a strategy, a state, or a system, and learn how to optimize them. So the first one is strategy. And so what exactly is strategy? So we are advisors. We have an advisory company that advises on business. And it's interesting to see how most, you can say other organizations or consultants, when they come into a business, they talk about strategy, they create this 30-page report on how to improve your business and use this strategy. And we have to come in and sometimes undo that and really simplify it, because the strategy is simply this. It's your approach. That's all it is. Your strategy is simply your approach to achieve the goal that you're looking to achieve, the goal or the goals. So if you are looking to lose weight, for example, let's just use that. If your goal is to lose weight, what is your strategy to lose weight? What is the approach? What is the path you are taking to lose weight? And yes, it's at a higher level approach. So one of the things you may want to take a look at is exercise. The other one is dieting, right? Another strategy that you could potentially have is have a professional help you with those two areas as well. So you have a choice. You could say, hey, look, I want to lose weight, and therefore I am willing to and wanting to eat healthy and exercise. That's part of your strategy, those two elements. Or you could also say, I'm just willing to exercise. I really can't control my diet. I don't want to control my diet. I can't give up these foods. So my strategy is strictly going to be based on exercise. Now, those are two different strategies. There's some overlap there, but they're two different strategies, and they're going to get two different results. Okay, so that's a key thing there. The approach is different. If you're exercising and eating well, you are more likely to achieve your goals. That's going to be a better strategy for you, because it's been proven over and over again that diet is a key factor to losing weight. So that is your approach. Now, the other person who chooses not to diet, there's nothing wrong with that, but their strategy isn't going to enable them to get to that place, perhaps in the same time frame, within the same level of effort, for example. So if they're both looking to lose X amount of weight in 6 months, the person who is exercising and dieting properly, when I say dieting, I don't like to use that word. Let's just say proper eating, but I'll just say dieting because most people are used to that. But that individual is going to achieve that goal more likely than the other individual within that 6-month period of time. So that's the strategy. The key thing with strategy is this. The strategy that you start with isn't going to be the strategy you end with. The key part to a strategy, which most people fail, is it's a test. It's a hypothesis. That's all it is. It's a best guess. And your whole purpose is to see if that strategy is actually working and change the strategy and change your approach. You constantly have to change your approach to be able to get to the end outcome. That's it. No strategy stays the same from start to finish. That's a bad strategy. A good strategy is one that continuously changes. So that is the first bucket. Everything that you do has a strategy, whether you know it or not. It could be a conscious strategy or it could be an unconscious strategy. So you have to identify that strategy first, and it's your approach. The thing with strategy is this. If you simplify it down to its core, strategy is all about the decisions you make. That's it. Do you decide to do A or B? Do you decide to do A, B, or C? All it is staying in alignment on that path or finding new paths to be able to achieve that end outcome. That's what strategy is, making decisions to get to your goal, deciding what to do and deciding what not to do. The second element, the second bucket, is state. That's how you show up every single moment. So if your goal is to lose weight, it's how you show up while you're making your meals or you're eating. It's how you show up, how you think, act, and feel while you're working out. If you are in a more effective state, so you have a higher level of focus, a higher level of energy, and you have what we call an empowering mindset, you are going to be able to perform better. That's essentially it. You're going to be able to be in a higher state to be able to execute on that strategy more effectively. The interesting thing with people's performance, and a lot of it has to do with state, primarily with state, is that it can fluctuate by up to 65% any given time of the day, any given day of the week. So, what does that mean? That means that you show up in the morning performing at 9 out of 10, or let's just say a 9 out of 10 in terms of your state. In the afternoon, you can be 3 out of 10, a 4 out of 10. And that's very common. How many times have you, I know this has happened to me, had a whole bunch of energy, been focused in the morning, and then by the afternoon, you're completely drained, right? And that lowers your state. It brings you into a suboptimal state. And so the key is to have an optimal state more often and be consistent with that state so that you can actually execute on the strategy more effectively. And everybody knows in business, it's not so much the strategy, which is actually very important. I'm going to get back to why, but it's around the execution because most people fail to execute on the strategy. That's not to say that an effective strategy isn't important. It's very important because if you're in a great state, right, you're showing up with focus, energy, and you have an empowering mindset, but you're making the wrong decisions that are not aligning with your goals, then you're going to waste a whole bunch of time, energy, and resources and effort. You might be getting somewhere, but it's not where you want to get to. Okay, so that's why strategy is important. But state is just as important. And if you are in an optimal state, you are actually more likely to catch yourself if you are not using the right strategy. So a lot of the times when we're low energy, we're feeling down and out, we kind of overlook things. We let things slide, right? Even though we know down inside our hearts or maybe even in our minds, definitely at an unconscious level, we're not getting the results that we're looking for. And perhaps we're on a completely different path than we should be. But we just don't have the energy to deal with it. We just don't have the energy to course correct. That's why state is important. You got to take care of your health. You got to make sure you're sleeping. You got to make sure that you're keeping an empowering mindset. That's a whole other ball game in itself. All three of those areas, focus, energy, and mindset, are very, very critical. We focus on that very heavily when it comes to enabling people to optimize their state. That in itself can take months. It can take a couple of years for you to be able to learn how to do that because it's learning about yourself. But once you learn about yourself, it's extremely powerful. You are no longer a servant to your environment. You are the environment. You get to create what happens around you rather than dealing with what the environment is giving you. It's a completely different, how do I say it, empowerment or place of empowerment to be. So that's state. The third element is, or bucket, or category, is systems. And systems are the tools, the insight, it could be the technology that you use, and it's also your habits and your routines. So your systems are also how you execute on the strategy. It's more of the day-to-day practical things that you do to execute on the strategy. So in this example that I shared, when it comes to losing weight, it could be, part of your system could be, are you doing proper meal prep? So are you prepping your meals the night before, maybe the morning of, or maybe you're buying prepped meals for yourself, right? Are you taking the right amount of protein? Do you have the right habits, for example? So have you cut out the habits of snacking or maybe late night snacking or taking junk food out of your diet? Like all of those things add up to the system. So they are habits, they are your routines, they are the tools that you're using. If we talk about tools or technology, for example, in this particular case, if you're losing weight, are you tracking your calories, right? Are you using an app, for example, to track your meals and your calories so you know what your calorie intake is and how much you're expending in terms of calories to lose weight? Now, I'm using this weight loss example because it's probably one of the most common examples that almost every single person deals with in their life at some point in time, and everybody can relate to it. But there's a lot more complex things. Again, this applies to your business strategy, applies to your relationship as well, right? All of these three buckets, your strategy, your state, and your systems, apply to your relationship. So what systems do you have in your relationship? Do you have scheduled time to go on a date? Do you have, the habits and routines that make an effective, loving, romantic, engaging, passionate relationship? If you don't have the systems to support it, it's going to be tough to do, regardless of what state you're in, regardless of whether you're using the right strategy or not. If the systems aren't proper, you're not going to be as effective, put it that way, and you're not going to be as efficient. You could be using a lot of resources, so time, energy, money, other resources, and not getting the traction that you're looking for. So by making small tweaks in your systems, you can make dramatic impact and progress towards your end goals, right? And so that's another area to take a look at. So for you at this particular time, it might be a good idea to reflect on something that you are working on in your life or perhaps in your business, and think about your strategy. Do you actually have a strategy? Think about your state. What state are you consistently in? And then think about the systems that you've implemented to be able to get to that goal. And I guarantee you, if you are making progress towards that goal and you continue to take a look at these three buckets and optimize them, you're going to make faster progress, guaranteed. If you are not making progress, I guarantee you it's because of one of these three buckets is not optimized. So it's important for you to take a look at these three areas. And again, it's about simplifying things. It's not about making things more difficult. I always encourage people to write things down. So whatever you're working on right now, whatever you have in your head, take a piece of paper and just draw 2 lines down the piece of paper. Make sure you have 3 equal columns. And on the left, you can put strategy. In the middle, you have state. And on the right, you have systems. And that one example that you have in your mind, just write down everything that comes to your mind in terms of strategy. Write down everything that comes to your mind in terms of state. And then write down everything that comes to mind when it comes to your systems. And then you can go through and you can identify what's actually working well, what can actually be optimized, and what's not working well. And perhaps maybe there's things that you need to completely remove. But it all comes back to these particular things. So if you're looking to increase your performance, you're looking to do greater things in life, it all comes back to you. The other thing here is that, yes, this applies to your team members as well. So every single human being on your team, this applies to. And that's important to take into consideration. So now if you have a team of 10 in your business, or maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 10,000, now multiply that, right? Those 3 factors by the number of people that you have in your organization, because that's what you're dealing with here. If people are not showing up with the right strategy, your organization is going to be ineffective. If people are not showing up in an optimal state, your organization is not going to be effective. Your team's not going to be effective. If people don't have the right systems, the teams in your organization are not going to be effective. So this is a great tool for you to take back to your business as well. So just to simplify and sum it up, it all comes down to 3 things: your strategy, your state, and your systems.